A child is a child, and if you see this acceptable, you belong on a national registry and not a school board.
Awesome.
Welcome to the dumbest guy in the room. Feels good to be back. It's been a while. Had a long move, and I wasn't able to record anything, but I got a very special guest with me today. You probably have seen her. She speaks at all of the North Penn School District school board meetings, sticking up for her children, for her family, friends. So everybody welcome Vicki Flannery. Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay. So Vicki is, she lives in the North Penn School District, and I think it's important to, I thought it was important to give her a platform to give her opinion that is longer than just 3 minutes of time, so people can get to know who Vicki is and why she says what she says and does what she does. So with that being said, Vicki, tell me a little bit about your childhood first off. Like, where did you grow up, and how was your family life growing up?
Sure. So I grew up in southeastern Wisconsin near Milwaukee. I have two brothers. One of them currently lives in Minneapolis, and the other one lives in South Florida. We went to Catholic school. My parents really valued education, and the district that I was in wasn't, very strong, and they were able to be able to afford to send us to private schools. So I'm very thankful for that. We grew up with pets. I had dogs, cats. We lived in the country, so we had horses. It was just a pretty normal childhood. I wouldn't say there was anything like spectacular, but it was a good childhood, and I'm thankful for that.
So you said you went to Catholic school as well as private school?
No. So, there are private schools up there. It's really not structured exactly the same as it is here. We call Catholic school private school.
Okay. Because you got to pay for it, I guess?
Yeah, I guess that's the way they look at it. I went to a college prep high school, and I had a very good education, which is one of the reasons why we chose to move to North Penn.
Yeah,
because of education.
What was it that, or how did you figure out that North Penn had a good school district? Because when I moved there, we saw the same thing, and I wasn't there very long. I was there for about 2 years, and it wasn't just the school that had me move. I had a lot of other things going on in my personal life, family life, parents getting sick, and things like that kind of forced my feet to get out of there. But we did move there for the same reason. We moved there for the school district. So what was it about the school district that got you to go from? Because that's a long way to move to North Penn, right? That's we got to move into a few things there. I met my husband in South Carolina. He's from Philadelphia. He went to Chestnut Hill Academy. So he came from a family that valued education as well. And when we were looking for places to live, we were originally looking in Ambler in the Wissahickon district, another district that we had known was a very good and very strong district. We ended up coming up into the North Penn area. So we live in North Wales, and we ended up coming up here under recommendation of a friend who lives in North Wales as well. She was telling me about the district, and my husband remembered, because he played football for Chestnut Hill. He remembered North Penn being really strong, not just academically, but athletically. And those were two of the big things we were looking for our children. Obviously academics comes first for us, but athletics is something that we look for in a school district as well. And North Penn checked off both the boxes at the time, from word on the street and from, his family's memory of the district over the years. Okay, so he was basically your husband was very involved in the social part of school and sports, and you were looking for the same thing. At what point did you start to question whether or not North Penn was what you thought it was? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily North Penn that made me question it. I had my daughter, she is 4, and I had her in 3K at Mater Dei, which is the Catholic school here, because North Penn didn't have pre-K programs, so I sent her to Mater Dei. We went for spring break to visit my family in Florida, and when we came back, we were put under quarantine for 10 days because we went to Florida. And they had told us if we had gone to New Jersey, that wouldn't have been the same thing. So I called them out. It was definitely a political move on their part. And that's when I started Moms for Liberty. And through starting Moms for Liberty, I started talking to other parents in the area, not just North Penn, but, Upper Dublin, Wissahickon, Souderton, all of them, and finding out, what's actually happening in our schools around here. And the more I started to meet parents in North Penn, the more I started to figure out like how truly flawed our district is, as great as it is, and as as it has such great potential to be great again. But I found that our district is focusing on things that are actually taking away from our students' ability to achieve the most of themselves academically, and that discouraged me from wanting to send my kids to the district.
So you actually started Moms for Liberty? Is that I didn't know that. I didn't know that you.
I didn't start the whole. No, so I started our chapter here in Montgomery County. Along with my vice chair, Maureen Bogut, whose kids go to Wissahickon. And we were the first chapter in the state of Pennsylvania.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's so you're not the billionaire that's trying to destroy democracy?
No.
No.
Although I wish I had $1 billion, I definitely do not. We are a single income household. I am a stay-at-home mom.
So I joke about that, but it's like kind of serious because they do. I watched the last school board. I'm actively watching what the current board posts on like Twitter and their opinions, and they're constantly labeling your group of moms as domestic terrorists. And to play both sides here, what keeps you from holding a conviction that may not be true? Like what drives you to maybe question what you believe?
Well, okay, so we are not billionaires, and our founders, Tiffany and Tina, are billionaires neither. They are not billionaires either. I have to laugh at it because all the money that my chapter has in the bank is from a small t-shirt sale that we ran over the summer when we first started. And I think we have a total of $900 in our chapter bank account, none of which goes to any political campaigns. Although we are able to endorse this, just as of last Monday, we are now able to endorse school board candidates. We chose to not endorse anybody this go around, just because the political, mudslinging is just too much, and I don't want to add to that anymore. So while I personally support candidates as Moms for Liberty, I do not endorse anybody. I will, tell people who the liberty-minded candidates are, but I do not say this is who Moms for Liberty, chooses.
I love that answer. I think that's something I'm going to give my opinion on this upcoming election that you guys have in North Penn. And just so people know, I don't know if people are kind of aware of this, but I was in North Penn. I'm living all the way down in South Carolina now, so I don't live in North Penn. And because of that, I've been blocked, and I'm not allowed to give my opinions to the board members. They completely blocked me. which is fine.
It's odd though. You hold a stake in the community. Your family still lives here.
Yeah. You're right, and there's nothing I can really do except keep speaking up because they did block me, and to me it just shows what kind of person they are, right? But I look at them as individuals, so it's each individual. I look at each one of them as their own being. Like, I don't look at them as Democrats. I'm not looking at them as, I just look at them by who you are. Who are you and who's your character? And that's how I'm going to make my opinion of who you are and, your true intentions. And I think with this upcoming election, what people fail to realize sometimes in all elections, and really all elections at every level, it's not so much like, I don't think they think that their person could turn out to be evil. Like, they don't see that it could easily escalate into something that you're trying to fight right now. And it is kind of scary. That's why I don't if you ever see anything that I post or say, I don't endorse people. I don't endorse people either. I endorse your opinion. Like, I want you to have your opinion. That's all I really endorse. I want you to be able to value what you value. And so I think it's a very courageous statement there to not endorse a politician, honestly, because that would have been the easiest way to get your name out, because that's what most people are looking to do, is become something, some type of figure, a face for something. They want meaning, so that's how they find it. And today, politics is the easiest way to go.
I agree.
So one
of the things that we do is I do give the opportunity for the challengers. So for the people who are running in favor of parental rights, who want to give us a voice in our districts, I do offer them a platform to speak to our members. And I found that works really well. I'm not endorsing them, but I'm still letting them use my platform.
Now the question is, would you let the current board use that same platform to talk to those parents?
Yes, I actually, I interviewed a few of the local candidates on Saturday, and that included the North Penn Stronger Together, who are the challengers for my district's school board meeting. I interviewed them on Saturday, and after that, I had a few parents reach out to me and ask if I would be willing to invite the other side, the North Penn Neighbors for Progress side, out to to talk and ask them the exact same questions. I asked them, what were some of the things that you saw went wrong during COVID? Because we all know COVID's not going away. So what are some of the things that you saw went wrong in the past that you would fix in the future? And then I asked about education and, what are some of the things that you'd like to see going forward in the curriculum and education of our children? And these are the exact same questions that I was going to ask North Penn Neighbors for Progress. And although I only gave them roughly 24-hour notice, but again, it was something that my members had asked me to do, I emailed them and I posted it on Twitter and reached out and tagged all of them and emailed them. Jonathan Casa, he kindly got back to me. I do have to say, like, as much as I have to say negative about him personally and how he's been running our board, I do have to say that he kindly reached out to me and apologized that he wouldn't be able to do it. But whoever's running their email, they were not as kind about it in their decline. But regardless, they declined the opportunity to meet with me and their constituents who are in Moms for Liberty, who did want to hand out that olive branch and have an opportunity for dialogue.
Now, so you said you gave them like 20, there was only like 24 notice, and they probably are very busy right now because they are, yes. The elections.
And I totally understand that. North Penn Stronger Together, I think they also only had about a 24-hour notice.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's like the new board always has more to prove, right? Because they don't have any history to back it. They're brand new. They're trying to get people to see who they are, what they are. So they always work a little bit harder, and that is politics in my opinion. That's what you see. The person that's always running behind is always the one that's more active and doing more things because they need to get seen. Nobody knows who they are. So you said that he was very kind in his response, even though he didn't didn't accept. But he was very kind in his denial of the conversation.
He was, which was surprising. I will admit it was surprising. But I think, unfortunately, while the other members or the other slate has more to prove, I think, I
don't think they have more to prove. I think that's what they try. I'm saying that that's kind of the perception of the new political party trying to win over.
Yeah,
that's what
I don't think they have more to prove. I think that they've gained a lot of support within our community.
I do too.
But while they are, they're not on YouTube every week for a meeting where they get to kind of the school board uses their meetings as an opportunity to pitch their campaign in a way. The other side doesn't get that opportunity. But my point behind this whole thing is we are their constituents, and the only opportunity we've had to speak with them is at a school board meeting when nobody really replies back to us, which in my opinion is what has caused a lot of the divide in the community, is because people in the Moms for Liberty community feel that they've been ignored and haven't been listened to. And I wanted to be able to ask those questions, the same questions that I asked North Penn Stronger Together. I wanted to ask North Penn Neighbors for Progress. And then I also wanted to do what I did for North Penn Stronger Together and open it up for community comment, where the community could ask them a couple of questions. Like, perhaps they might ask, like, what are you going to do to help the special ed community in the future? Because in the past, they've left them behind in some ways. And maybe one day we'll be able to have that conversation. However, I wish that conversation could have happened before the election tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I noticed about those school board meetings is that they tend to avoid the conversation as much as they can. And that I want to let me get your opinion on this. What do you think could bring your community together? Because that's the goal, right? Like, we can sit here all day and say what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, but where's a solution? What do you see as a solution for North Penn community to actually be able to go to a school board meeting and sit next to whoever they want without having to yell at each other about who's right and wrong?
Sure. Well, there's a few things. I would love a voice on the board, somebody who will listen to the community members and take their concerns to heart and actually help do something about what's happening maybe with their child, to validate them. I know that for a while I don't want to say there was a thing, because it's not just a thing, it's a big deal. But AM Culp, which is in Hatfield, has a teacher that was putting kids in a thing called a privilege walk. And this was brought up, I believe, as early as May, and it has been, shot down and denied by the current board as a lie, until this past meeting in October, when a parent of one of the children that was put through the privilege walk walked up in the action meeting and spoke and said, "This is not a lie. This is happening to my child." And maybe instead of us, being told, like, this is not true, this is not happening in our schools, we're not teaching this kind of stuff for 5-6 months before this, maybe it wouldn't have gotten to such a boiling point. Another thing is too is, maybe instead of these action meetings where we don't have the time for them to talk, as a community getting together a couple times a year and having an opportunity to have a dialogue with the school board, be it in a town hall format or what have you. I think that's another opportunity for us to be able to come together, because at the end of the day, no matter what side we're on, we have a common ground that we're fighting for our children. And there used to be in the past a way to find a happy medium to, I understand that, a lot of parents are, wanting this, diversity and things like that. And I don't want to take away from that, but I also want parents to value and understand our concerns about what is in the diversity training and these, the books that were read at the last meeting and these privilege walks that are happening and things like that. Like it's not okay. And we need to be able to communicate without feeling attacked.
Right.
Sorry, I'm very long-winded.
No, please. I that's what I'm here to do. I want to get your opinion. I think that what we're doing right now is part of a solution for your community, is to have longer conversations, right? I think if people can hold these conversations and stop trying to avoid them and just try to be right all the time and just avoid like anybody that has disagrees. It could be, because I'll tell you this, I'm somebody that was very prideful my whole life. Like I was never me. I was always whatever group I was part of, which led me to do things that I didn't necessarily believe in. Okay, so I would do things that were against my morals for, I guess, the reputation, kind of.
Right.
In my heart, I knew it wasn't the right thing to do at the time, but I would still do it. I dug so deep into myself. I was a terrible human being. I was an awful person. I hurt a lot of people emotionally, a lot of women, especially, including my wife. Like I was a manipulative narcissist. Like I was as bad as it gets. I was an alcoholic. I'm 5 years sober, and I'm still every day fighting with those demons. But I didn't get better until I loved myself and separated from those things and stopped trying to make everybody else see the world I saw. Like that's what I was trying to do, because life is hard for everybody, right? Life is hard for everybody. I don't think those privilege walks, definitely not those books. They're sick. I don't know how you even read that out loud. I really don't, because like I had to
stop. It was awful. It got worse from what I read. It actually, I intended on reading more, but it was even worse.
Yeah, my wife read like the whole books of them to see what the actual meaning is, because that's another thing that we don't really do. We kind of pick and shoot. We try to look for things. You will find it, right? But sometimes and that's what when I asked you, like, what do you do to question your ideology, to say, well, and what I'm doing good? Like, how do you not get yourself to fall into that trap? Because it's very easy. Nobody wants to believe it, but it's easy. It's very easy to fall into that trap. And when you said that you didn't endorse the politicians, I thought that was, I really did like that. But you said you did spend a lot of time with the new board. So what can you say that if the new board did take over those seats, they're going to have a lot of pressure from people that don't agree with you guys, that don't agree with you. Yeah. How do you think that they would be able to manage that? Like, are they going to do the same thing? Or are they going to just ignore and just do the opposite, the polar opposite? Or do you think that they have a plan to really try to, and it can't happen overnight, obviously, but do you think they have a plan? Right. Because I think that's the biggest thing that you need. Do you have a plan to try to start putting you guys back together?
I believe they have a plan to put everything, or to try to put everything back together. At least to give, the parents who have felt like they are voiceless for so long, to give them a voice, to give them, some sort of dialogue. That's all we've been looking for. It's just someone to listen to us. And instead of someone listening to us, our concerns haven't been validated. They haven't been heard. They've been denied publicly. And I think if this new board gets on, they'll at least be able to give parents some sort of comfort in knowing that someone is listening to them. I understand that there are people out there that think that Moms for Liberty is polarizing. I don't want to be. I don't want to come off like that. I am a human at the end of the day, and I understand everybody's emotion behind everything. But the thing is before people have gotten to know me or the organization that I represent, they've immediately placed judgment on us, and that has caused even more polarization, because there are so many parents that represent Moms for Liberty in the North Penn area. I think we have 1,200 members on Facebook, and many, I want to say there's a bulk majority of our members in Montgomery County are from North Penn. And by labeling me, by labeling Moms for Liberty, that has placed a label on many good people who don't deserve that, and they deserve to be heard and listened to, and not called, racist or homophobic or anything that we're being called, because we are none of that.
Yeah, and I see that it's starting to get everywhere. And has anybody on that current board ever disagreed with? Has anyone ever voted against the majority of that board? I feel like everything they do is always they just agree.
I believe that there was one time that there was a dialogue before a vote, and I believe that was last fall when it came to whether or not sports, or I could be completely wrong, but I believe it was when it came down to whether or not the football team would be allowed to play last fall.
And okay.
And there was dialogue about that, and I believe it was 8-1 vote. But other than that, everything is 9-0 in favor of any policy they try to put forward. There's no dialogue. If there is dialogue, it appears to be a pre-planned dialogue that they set out. So nothing real or organic discussed.
It's definitely all planned. Nothing they, like when you said about Costa be a genuine dice. I know what kind of person he is. I know.
Oh, I definitely think there's an undertone.
I don't want to talk you into it, but
Oh no, I'm well aware of the person he is, and I'm well aware of that. It's likely it's saving face for his future endeavors. But I genuinely hope that, and I look for the good in everybody, and I genuinely hope that he's honest and wanting to listen and wanting to extend an olive branch. But I know the truth.
No, but I agree with you. Like I think about it all. I'm like I want to keep the faith that what you are doing does have good intentions behind it. Like I want to believe it. I do. Like I want to believe that you have good intentions. But like I said before, I was a very manipulative person. I didn't know that I was doing it when I was doing it, though. It's hard to make sense. Like, you can call people out that are doing that to people, but the person doing it a lot of times doesn't really know yet. Like, they don't understand how they're doing it, but they're very engaged with people's emotions, and it's easy to control. And that's what I was good at. I was very good at it. And I see myself, my past, like I see my old self in what he's doing on a way higher, like, educated level, because I am not educated by any, like, I'm the opposite of educated. I dropped out of high school, alcoholic, like I'm all, I'm all self-educated basically, from reading books and watching different TV series and a lot of podcasts and just kind of self-educating. And I do want to see the good in him. I'll tell you what, I see everybody talks bad on like Fusco and Stoll and like mainly them two in Casa, and I don't see it in them at all. I see them following Casa. Like that's
exactly what I think too.
I think they're good people that are scared.
I don't think they're scared. I think they've been manipulated and they're being played. But again, like, I'm just going to reiterate, I went to Catholic school. One of the things that we learn as Christians is to look for the good in people. And I do believe that all people are inherently good.
Me too.
I think that there is good in everyone, and some people are, led astray, and, maybe it's, me being from, small town Wisconsin and, being naive, but I truly hope that, despite what happens tomorrow, and I know that the 4 that are running for North Penn Stronger Together are good people and are people that want to listen to the community and want transparency. I still hope that regardless of outcome tomorrow, the voices of the North Penn community are heard.
So I want to take a little bit of a look into what your child is going through right now. What school are they in now? How old are, if you want to share that? But
so my kids are home. I pulled Sophia out of Mater Dei. So she's 4. She's my oldest, which doesn't discredit my movement at all. I'd like to just put out why I do this and why I'm fighting against North Penn and what's going on in there is because I moved here for a reason. I moved here for the schools, and my daughter is 4, and next year she'll be in kindergarten, and I would like her to be able to go to the schools. I don't want my kids home all the time. Like, I love them here, but I don't see myself as the educator type. I want, somebody to be able to teach my children how to read and write and do math. And, while I studied biology in college, I don't know if I could necessarily teach my children science. Like, my brain doesn't work that way. And I would love to be able to send my kids to North Penn and have them get a high quality education similar to what my husband and I received in private school. And I know that North Penn is capable of that. But until I fight for it, I don't think that sending my children to this district is going to happen.
I think you need to make the best decision for your kids, obviously. And the reason you moved there was because of that school. And you live there and you pay taxes, and those taxes go to that school, and then you're going to have to pay another school because you don't want them to. I think you need to stand up for your kids. I do.
Well, I'm an advocate currently for charter academies for parents who are able to stay home with their kids and can't necessarily afford private or Catholic or, parochial education.
When you say charter academy, what are you referring to?
So I have a lot of friends who this year, after, the whole mask mandate thing was reinstated for the fall semester, a lot of my friends pulled their kids out of public schools and put them in what is called Commonwealth Charter Academy. And everyone that I've spoken to in the district loves it, thinks it's a great fit for their kids. But the only downfall is working parents. It doesn't work out for them. They still have to go to work and they have nowhere to put their kids. So that's kind of, somewhere where I consider myself lucky that I'll be able to be home with them if I choose Charter Academy. But there needs to be options available for parents. And one of the options is actually currently sitting in the House is House Bill 1, which gives the ability for parents to take the money it would cost for their child to go to public school to send them to any school that they see fit for their child. So be that, they could take it to put towards, an education at Germantown Academy or Lansdale Catholic, we'll say. Like, they can put that towards that education. And it gives children of all economic backgrounds an opportunity for a strong education if that happens.
The charter academy, is it different than a charter school?
Yeah, so it's a virtual academy.
Okay, so it's virtual, and it was created for that purpose. So I'm sure they're.
So what it does is a portion of what it costs for your child to go to, say, North Penn, and I don't have the exact number, so I don't want to give it just in case I'm wrong. But a portion of what that costs, North Penn pays the charter academy. So a large chunk of that goes to Commonwealth Charter Academy. And they send you your computers, all your school supplies, your books, everything you need for the whole year. And then a smaller portion stays at North Penn to cover their expenses.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that was one of the things that caught my eyes with the politics going on within the school boards is the push that I see on social media from the current board to start to regulate the charter schools now, or stop funding charter schools, because it's taking the money away from us. And I think the money part of that is an illusion, in my opinion. It's more of a you need to learn what we're teaching, kind of like a order and control.
And we wouldn't have to worry about money leaving our district if our district supplied the academic excellency that it should. Parents wouldn't want to leave the district. Parents wouldn't be pushing for HB1 because there would be no need for them to send their children to Germantown Academy or Lansdale Catholic.
That's the only time they lose money is when the kids leave.
Exactly. It would benefit, other districts that maybe aren't as strong academically. I know ours is and can be. It just has lost its sight in what I see as political rhetoric.
It is, and it's probably the strongest it's ever been. Or I don't know. Either it is just starting to happen, or we as parents are finally starting to see what is getting involved more in our kids' school.
Yeah, I think we've been asleep at the wheel for too long.
Looking at it daycare. I feel like a lot of parents were doing that, because I'm guilty kind of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, I never paid attention to it until my kids started getting old enough where I thought about, all right, school's coming. But a lot of parents that I talk to and that I know personally whose kids are in the district, they have personally told me that they didn't realize what was happening until North Penn went fully virtual. And then they started to see and hear and that's what kind of woke them up to, wait, what am I sending you to? What are you getting? What's going on here? Mm-hmm. We have a 9th grade aquatics class at North Penn High School that last year and this year on the syllabus, or whatever they're calling it these days, there's an entire unit towards white privilege in an aquatics class. And these are things that that's not a class that's necessary. We don't need to be talking about that for swimming. So there's just a lot of things that parents kind of looked at that and they're like, what is the purpose behind this, and why are we doing this in aquatics class of all things?
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point that you made there. Is what's the purpose? And I think if the person that is making these decisions to put these things in there could tell us why they're doing it, maybe it could make a difference. But no one can explain why. And when they say why, it's always the same thing: diversity, inclusion. Or it's not even.
Well, it's
equity
when
now.
You ask why?
Right. It is.
Well, you've been gaslit by them, so you understand how it goes.
Yeah, and I never, and I would like consider myself just to be a troll of Casa because of the way that he responded to my one. Literally, then it gets me because I'm like, I need to stop. Like, I know I need to let go of that, but I'm like, why? How can people not see what this man is doing? He made a Facebook post during Pride Month about pride and gave this graph and said this is what pride is. People think this is pride, and his statement was, if you want to, if you feel uncomfortable with this and want to have a discussion and elevate this discussion, please, engage, and I want to have a conversation. He offered that on a Facebook post. I thought, like, I am a huge, I think way too much, right? And I have a very strong opinion on pride. I think pride is necessary at a point, but I also think that pride is what holds you down. Like, I think it holds people, it holds them down, and it's hard to see, but it does. You don't want to see it, basically, because no one else, everybody's looking the other way in those pride groups. But I made this whole thoughtful reason why pride was not what he was saying it was, and why it's not good for kids to be taking pride in their sexual proclivity or their gender or their race or any of that. And I just, his response to me was insulting and belittling in a way that he tried to sound like nice. It was, oh, you seem to have everything figured out. I know I don't know everything. Have a good day. And I was like, really? That's elevated? That's how you elevate?
Appropriate.
That is not how you elevate.
And that also is not a way to open up the dialogue with community. That could have been handled a lot better.
No, it should have. Like, I think that's a big topic. That's a big thing going on. And a lot of people that are... a lot of people that react to stuff like that, what he wanted was an emotional response. That's what he was expecting, was somebody to lash out or not answer at all. So most people would lash out and be like, whatever. I didn't lash out. I didn't insult him in any way. I just gave a thought-out opinion, and he just didn't know why he believed in what he believed in. And that's the moment that I realized that
well, that's because a lot of these people who are part of the, political machine, I guess you could say, and I take that from somebody else who's spoken at one of our school board meetings.
That's what it is.
And I'm not saying everybody on the board is part of the political machine, but I will say John Casa appeals to the community because he is well polished and well trained in his political abilities. And outwardly he can handle situations, but the problem with a lot of people that are part of this political machine, and I speak like there are a lot of Republicans, we talk about the rhinos, they too are part of this, and they don't know what they stand for. They know what they're told to stand for. They know their platforms and what to speak on based on what they're told. And if you go and ask them a talking point outside of what they've been trained to speak on, and I mean, this is my honest opinion on it. If you go and give them something outside of what they are told to speak on, they don't know how to respond. It's like, if you think about it, it's like a robot, like, and all the sparks going off, and it doesn't know how to compute the situation. Like, that's how I envision this.
Like our beginning, trying to do this live, whatever that looked like.
Basically, yeah, you and me, and like me trying to figure out like how do I talk in the beginning, like super awkward. But yeah, it's exactly like that.
It is, and I like the political machine thing because it is, and to be honest with you, we're kind of part of it because we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. Like
no, it's true. But the difference is, I mean, well, I guess too, like, we all know what we know, and that's fine. But the difference between me and him, or me and somebody who's in politics, is I speak from the heart and from what I truly feel, and not from what somebody tells me to feel.
And I can sense that. I can sense that in you. That's why I was excited when Kenny told me that that you wanted to talk, because every time I see things coming from you, I see that passion. I see it's real. It's not something that's made up. It's not something that you're forcing. It's real. I also don't think, like, the fact that people want to take away your movement because your kids aren't in school yet, I think it's even more powerful that your kids aren't in school yet and you're still doing it. Right? Like,
Well, I mean,
your
I have
kids
to
will
make,
be there and you're already doing
yeah,
it. So a lot of parents that their kids are that age probably won't do that yet. And it'll be too late by the time they do stand up, like kind of like now, like if we were paying attention, and that's why I take responsibility for a lot of that stuff, because I was not paying attention. My kids are younger, but I was not paying as much attention as I could have to allow it to get to this point.
yeah.
Right? Like, I think if we paid more attention back then, then we could have.
Well, and I think that's half the problem is we haven't been paying attention, and I want to reiterate, like, even though my kids aren't in the district now, I'm fighting for what I feel like, not just them. Like, I feel like I'm fighting for what they deserve in the future, but what kids that are in there now deserve as well.
All of them.
I'm not just fighting for my child. I'm fighting for everybody's child. One of them just came down the stairs.
The future, though, like that, your child is the future, right?
Sophia, you gotta go. Yeah.
They come running
I don't know
down.
where her dad is.
Huh? They just come running down the steps.
One of them did. Yeah. No, she's just riding the scooter through the entire house. So that's great. 9:40. I am the mom of the year. 9:40.
We all parent different, right? We all parent
Yes.
different, and we should be allowed to.
Yes, I agree, and that's fine, and I believe in everybody's right to have their own beliefs, but when we start trying to push those beliefs on other people, that's when we start to have our problems.
So where do you draw the line?
In meaning?
Like, where do you draw the line with when you say, I think everybody should be able to believe in what they want to believe? So in a school, at what point do you think a school is
So I believe
overstepping?
a lot of these conversations belong at home. If there's a gender or sexuality question, I'm not against these books being in the libraries. I'm against books that have sexual nature. Like, for God's sake, our school board meeting, you have to be 18 to view it. So why are the books available to children under the age of 18? I don't think that that's acceptable, but I do, I don't disagree with it being available. I do disagree with teachers bringing it up. It's not their place to teach my child something that I may not feel that they are emotionally ready for. So I think that a lot of those conversations are for for parents to have with their own children.
I 100% agree. I think I think there's a line they're crossing with like what is good and bad, rather than like they're trying to teach what is morally correct and what they need to value. I don't think that
I don't think it's anybody's place to say what should be morally correct for my child.
You are.
Yeah, and I'm raising my children on Christian values. So I'm not raising my kids to be bad people, but I also don't want them, being in kindergarten, wondering about their gender identity.
It's confusing.
I don't think that it's not acceptable.
It just confuses them more. Right? Like, if you look,
and it's already like a confusing, you're getting to know yourself, you're meeting new friends, you're getting into that, social world. And now you're throwing in this thing like, am I a boy or a girl, or what am I? And if that's a conversation that needs to happen with my children, it needs to happen with me and my children, not a third party and my child.
I could probably almost guarantee not many children bring that up. Like, it's not something that's brought up and then dealt with. It's something that's put on them, and then now it's something from an adult.
Yeah.
Like, kids aren't like my daughter's a dinosaur. My daughter could be a dinosaur one day. Next day she's dressed up like a princess. She doesn't.
My daughter walks in the backyard howling like a wolf.
Yeah.
Like, is she a wolf?
Now she's a wolf. But because we all have an imagination,
Yeah.
we do. We have an imagination, and we should be allowed to embrace that imagination without making it a concrete conviction that it's true.
Exactly.
Like kids need to have that creativity.
Well, and I think that's part of where the issue is we are forcing children to grow up too fast. Mm-hmm. We're forcing them to come to realities that even some adults can't face on their own. So how do we expect, if we as adults don't understand things, how do we expect a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or even a 12-year-old to understand it?
It's kind of scary. And this is the way I like to so my son, I have 3 kids, and my youngest is 10 months now, and he's at a point where you can start to see that why he's doing what he's doing. And what I mean by that is, like, if he's doing something and nobody's paying attention and you're not giving him any emotional response, he doesn't do that thing anymore. Like if he's playing with something, whatever gets him an emotional response, he just keeps mimicking. Or if he sees, his sister, who's 2, doing something, he'll mimic it if she gets the reaction. So and that's what we do. We kind of just mimic each other to say what is meaningful, and they're trying to find that meaning from an infant. Like that's what he's doing. He's trying to say what is meaningful, what's going to make me get noticed, what's making me have a meaning in this world. And they're doing it as an infant, and you're just literally, they're going to school and you're just confusing more meaning with everything else.
Right. Well, and I think that, parents who believe in that, I think their intent as well. But again, like that's your child and your choice to do that. But please do not force your opinions or your thoughts on other people's children who may not feel the same way as you. It's not appropriate. You wouldn't want me doing it to your child, so please don't do it to mine. And
I have a much bigger respect for Moms for Liberty after this conversation. I'm always very speculative of any group, right? I'm just very speculative because I know what it can turn into if it doesn't remain balanced, and it's very. And that's why I said it's courageous, because it's very easy to become what you're fighting when what you're fighting is just nonstop attacking you. It's like how it's a human response to react back. And when we do that, we sometimes turn into what we're actually fighting. And I think if we recognize that as individuals, it could bring a lot of people together, because what you're fighting is what you could become if you don't really recognize it.
Yeah.
Like Moms for Liberty, for example. Like I can go Black Lives Matter, for example. There's a lot of good people in there that have. I think it was started with very good intentions. I think it was a very valuable movement, and then look what it turned into. It got corrupted. And now it's not what it was. Now it's not even close to the thing that was established as Black Lives Matter. It's a whole different organization that has.
Well, we base our everything on the Constitution of the United States. So that's one of our big things is we pride ourselves in taking time to learn the Constitution and to understand the Constitution, and to be able to utilize it in the fight for our children.
Me and my wife were talking about this the other day, and she's the one that brought this up, and I thought it was a great point that nobody really ever brings up, is the Constitution was literally written by a bunch of men that saw what power could do to good men and said, I don't want it. And they gave it all up. It wasn't a bunch of people that sat down and said, this is what the people need to do. Like, this is what you get. You guys get these things and that's it. It's like, no, if we have power, good men turn into like we will turn into evil if we do not just give the power to
and
the
that's
people.
happening because us, the regular people, the little people here, who actually own the government, we've given the government too much power over us, and now it's an absolute struggle, in trying to protect this country and our Constitution and everything that it was founded upon. Like, every single person that comes here and every single person that lives here and was born here is entitled to the same things, and we can't lose sight of that. And I feel like if we continue going down this path we are, that's something that's going to happen. Is people are going to lose sight of the fact that we are all created equal, and we are all equal, in the eyes of the Constitution, and even greater in the eyes of God. Not to sound like a preacher, sorry.
No, I'm 100% with you. I am. I used to be very against. I went to Catholic school for a little bit, and what they kind of taught was, to me, it was more of like, if you're evil, you are evil, and you're going to go to hell if you do these things. Not you are good and you will be forgiven. And the Catholic Church kind of tells you, or at least how I understood it when I was a kid. I always felt like they were telling me I was a bad kid. Like, tell me your sins. Tell me your sins. What did you do bad? You know you did something bad.
Oh, were you a member of the Rosary Club as well? Because I spent a lot of time there in high school.
Me and my wife talk about, like, we would consider ourselves, I guess, Christian now. Like,
Yeah,
but
same.
I'm also very big into philosophy. Like, very big into philosophy. And Friedrich Nietzsche, he's a philosopher. He says there was one Christian, and he was a Jew that died on a cross. And that was so powerful to me. It took me a long time to understand what he was saying. And it was him basically trying to explain how somebody can break away from a tribal, a religion, or whatever, like break away from this ideology and create his own image, and then other evil people took over what he did and exploited it and turned it into power. But but I think that religion is necessary too. I think a lot of Moms for Liberty, it's very necessary. It's a necessary thing in a time like this, and it's necessary that you all stick together and keep those values, because it could easily go south.
And that's one of the things too, is we all, there's a lot of talk, like, and it's not, I don't want to say it's from our current school board or the people running. It's across the country. There's a lot of talk that, oh, these moms are just here, they're political operatives, they're going to go away once these elections are over. And that could be anything but the truth. We are never going to go away. This is our children we're talking about here, and our community. And, it may not always be as, hard fought a battle as it is right now, but we're still going to show up, and we're still going to be, involved in our community.
How big is Moms for Liberty? Like, are they nationwide? Are they in every state?
We are nationwide. I do not have the current chapter count, but last I checked, I think we have it's probably way more at this point, over 50,000 members nationwide. At last check, we were about 140 chapters nationwide. And Pennsylvania is the second largest state as far as volume of chapters goes, next to Florida, which is where Moms for Liberty was founded.
And
I thought I had the stats in my phone, but I can't find it.
That's okay, I think.
Oh, here it is. 56,000 parents. This is as of October 7th. So we've grown a little bit since then. At that time, we had 130 chapters in 30 states.
Okay. And how do you communicate between all these chapters? Like, is there a way to do that, or is it kind of
so there's a Moms for Liberty Facebook page, or you can go to momsforliberty.org and you can find your local chapter. There's actually a few in South Carolina.
Is there?
Yes. We have Charleston County, Berkeley County, Georgetown, which is just outside of Myrtle Beach, all of that. And Sumter County, I think. I'm not positive. But I don't know how I know all that off the top of my head. But in Pennsylvania here, we have a little chat between just the chapter chairs on Facebook. But if you just want to get involved and talk with anybody, you can join. If you're in Pennsylvania, if you're in Montgomery County, you can join our Facebook group. We also have one in Bucks County, which I'm just going to assume that maybe you have some listeners from Bucks County. We also have Chester and Delaware County locally.
Yeah, a lot of them are probably Bucks County too, and Philadelphia and Bucks.
We don't have one in Philly yet, but I do have some members in our Montgomery County group that are Philly.
That are from Philly, you said? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's good. So I guess so you are in constant talks with your chapter, and I'm going to assume the chapters around you, like the counties. But what about Florida? How do you communicate with them to make sure
I communicate with the chapter chairs. We have a Facebook group specifically for chapter chairs, and that's where we share what's going on across the country, and we can kind of, I don't want to say strategize, but we're able to, be like, hey, this is happening in my district. Has anyone else seen this? Hey, this is what our teachers union put out in Pennsylvania. What's going on in Arizona? We get a lot, I'm saddened and thankful because what's happening here is a real battle, but our chapters in Washington and California are dealing with what we have on an alarming scale. Mm-hmm. And their battle is even scarier and harder than ours is. And I hear about that in our chapter chair group often, and my heart goes out to them because I know what's happening over there. If we don't stop it here, that's the fight that we have ahead of us.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine living somewhere like that. So I'm in South Carolina now, and I work for I'm a State Farm agent, so I get a lot of transfers down. Like a lot of people call in from up north that are moving down here. A lot from New York, a lot from Ohio, PA. They're all coming down here, and they all say the same exact thing, which is kind of scary for y'all too, because that means that there's the people that agree with you are leaving. Mm-hmm. You know, like they're not sticking around. They're allowed. And I'm guilty of it. Like I was, and again, I wasn't like on any side. The side that I was on was the side of my kids, and I feel like that's what yous are about. And that's why I have way more respect for Moms for Liberty after talking to you. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, being a part of this group makes it a lot more difficult to consider retreat. As much as I'd love to move back to South Carolina, I miss it every day. But, my heart here is in Pennsylvania and helping the parents here who need a voice to be able to help them advocate for their children. And part of the other thing too is to empower a lot of parents. We have seen our, little coalition of North Penn parents grow from my first meeting in May to our last meeting. And we've gone from just having, 6 total parents in the room. That doesn't include any side, to, having over 70 parents at a school board meeting.
Exactly.
And now having, up to 3,000 plus views on some of our action meetings on YouTube. That has a lot to say about, what's going on in our district and parents paying attention. And also we have more people speaking at these action meetings for their kids. And I feel like the parents that have stuck in it since day one have helped advocate and give other parents the confidence to be able to do it and speak up for their kids as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been getting a lot bigger there. I think the last meeting and I don't know what happened at the end of the meeting. They started to. I was watching it, and they started to
Yeah.
give their what they called an explanation for the book, which wasn't an explanation. It sounded
I
like
believe I was told I think Penn.
right. Well, it sounded like laughter, like maybe a laughter from people there,
So
and then they
they
cut
said
the
that they
mic.
wanted. Yeah, so they said they wanted to give an explanation of the book, to which, I mean, I probably shouldn't have done it, but I was like, there is no need for an explanation. I gave it to you. One of our parents called the principal at Oak Park, told him, hey, this book is in our library. Do you know about it? To which he said, no. He went and got it. He was alarmed that it was in there and said, I am immediately taking it off the shelf. He took it off the library shelf that day. He had also mentioned to this parent that the book had been checked out 3 times, which during the meeting, this
It
is
has
why we got
never been
upset, and this
checked
is
out,
why
right?
things started getting wild. He said that it had been removed, and he admitted that night it had been removed on Wednesday, but he said it had never been checked out, and it was purchased, I don't know the exact words, with good intentions. Which, that book, how good intentions could be used to purchase that book is beyond me. And upon further digging, the story just keeps changing. We have parents that are calling and letting me know that, they're now saying that it was taken off the shelf in August, which is what they said to the paper, even though in the action meeting they said it was taken off on Wednesday. They're saying that it was never checked out. And then they're saying it was checked out 3 times, but it was by a teacher and the teacher never read it. And then the other time the librarian took it off the shelf to do some sort of, like, I don't know, inventory search, and then put it back on, and then took it off, and it just sat on her desk for no reason at all. Like, this is literally what's happening as we're talking. So it's coming down to, I'm going to be filing a right to know request, and getting the true information behind this book and why it sat. And even though if it only sat until August, who recommended this book? They say it sat on the shelf for 5 months untouched, but that's 5 months that a child could have gotten his hands on it. And I don't know if you remember being a grade school boy, but I remember grade school boys, and one of them catches that book and starts reading it, and next thing you know, it spreads like wildfire, and everyone's secretly reading it in the back of the library.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it, is a situation that needs to be addressed, and we have yet for a public apology. All we have is a bunch of gaslighting and vilifying of parents who have a valid concern for its purpose in a grade school library.
Yeah, and I mean they you've been accused of a book burner, right?
I am
Trying
not.
to burn books. So what would be your response to that? Because if you do look at it, you're trying to take a book out. But I agree with your percent. I 100% agree that thing should not exist. I don't even know who wrote it. Whoever wrote it is sick. Like somebody had to think of that stuff and actually published it.
Well, it's a memoir, so unfortunately it did happen to some poor child.
It was a
feel
memoir,
bad.
you said?
It's a memoir, yeah. So unfortunately it happened to a poor child, and I do feel terrible for them, and I understand that there are other children that go through this.
Shouldn't that come from a therapist?
Well, that's where I was going with this. If this is something that we see as needed to be able to give to children who have been through this, it should be a therapist, or it should be held by a guidance counselor who then has to speak to the parent before the book is given to the child. If this is something that's meant to, which in reading the book, I don't see it as something that is going to help a child get through a situation. I see it as more traumatizing than anything. But, or there needs to be a system of, first of all, this book doesn't belong in a grade school. But if this is in the high school, there needs to be a system of, here's the books that, can be flagged as, graphic or whatever. And if your child, let's say your child's name is Mike, decides to check this book out, you get an email that flags it and says, hey, just so you're aware, your son Mike checked out this and this book at this and this time from the North Penn High School library, and it's, flagged for adult content. So then you can have that conversation with your children, and it brings it back into the home where it needs to be. I don't want to burn a book. I just want to make it quite clear that there are books that are
inappropriate.
There are books that are appropriate for children, and there are books that are inappropriate for children. And that's the bottom line. And any inappropriate book for a child doesn't belong in a public school library. I don't necessarily think it belongs in a public library, period. But if you as the parent think that it is acceptable for your child to read, then you can have that at home. But again, this is where I circle back to my earlier statement that it is fine. You do what you want with your child. That is your child. You teach your child what you want to teach them, but don't let it interfere with what I think is acceptable for my child.
Right. I think what amazes me the most is it's such a complex problem. Like it's not an easy thing to just say this is the answer. Right. Exactly. And everybody has this answer. And it's we need to do this or we need to do that. And it's more than that. Like I think if like earlier when I said what do you think we could do to get the community together? Like if you could have at least a board that has some people that disagree, it's a start. Like there should be people up there that think differently balance. In thought. You need a diversity of thought, and there's no diversity of thought. It's all diversity of things we can't control. That's what they want to. They diversify the things we can't control. Like, I was given this. I was born a white male. Like I can't do anything about that. So why are you focusing on that? I can't do anything about that. What I can change is my thought. I can change my mindset. I cannot change what you see. It's not going to happen. I can't. And I never will be able to. So why you're forcing those things on and telling people to value things they can see is beyond me. Yeah.
Well, and Sam Ferry at the last meeting, or not the last meeting, the one before it, she put it 100% correctly. Kids do not see color. Mm-mm. And people can say whatever they want about, me stating that, but I truly believe that's true. And kids, I don't see a kindergartner thinking, oh, he's wearing a princess costume. The only people that see that and think negatively or some way about it is an adult. Kids don't care.
That told them that.
Just be a kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the only time that kids start to think about that kind of stuff is if they're told to think about it. Told to be like, you need to look at the color and not the person, or you need to look at the gender and not, the goodness of the human. And that's where the issue is coming down. They're teaching our children to generalize, or what, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but they're teaching our children to not look at the goodness of the person, but to look at the outward appearance of people. Yes. And I don't think that's the right way to raise kids, in my opinion. That's not how I want to raise my children. Again, you can raise yours how you want, but
I think, and I am Malcolm X is one of my biggest inspirations that I have in life. I actually named my youngest son after Malcolm X because of what he did. And if you watch the last speech he had before he was assassinated, he talks about how the Nation of Islam would sit at the table with the KKK and talk about how they were going to scare their own people so that they could keep control of their own people. Like they were the same people. There was up top, it was the same team. They weren't any different. And then he started to talk about how he doesn't like to call. We're not ready to to call people black or white, because black is not a color anymore, white is not a color anymore. They're adjectives. There's a whole other. It's not just a color. There's adjectives that they are constantly putting in your mind. Whether them telling you that white privilege is this is instilling adjectives to your color. It has nothing to do with you be like just telling you what you are is what it's doing. And it's doing the same thing for the black community.
Yeah.
And by doing that they're actually doing the opposite of what they're trying to say that they are doing. And if you look at the people that they don't teach about in history, they were the ones that were trying to tell you that, but they're all deemed crazy or like out of their minds.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's the thing too. So you say like how they're trying to instill fear. That's the whole Marxist tradition. And that's where all of this is headed, is, you know, to separate. First of all, they separate in Marxism. They did a class separation. Here we're doing a color separation or a gender separation or whatever it is. We're finding ways to separate. And then from there, you know, they're able to, you know, mosey on in with their Marxist agendas. Now, whether this board or any school board is complicit in it, I can't say because I don't know. I'm, you know, hopeful that everybody's good, but I think that's the ultimate agenda at the end of the day is to divide and conquer.
No, it is, and it's very easy to see now. If you watch the episode that I did on North Penn, where I was by myself just talking for hours, at the end of it, I gave like a kind of, that's what I talked about was the divide and conquer, but how you kind of can bring it back together. And the biggest thing, that's why I don't think it's a political I don't think it's a political problem necessarily. That I would never want to be a politician to fix this. I think it's people like you, where you have this Moms for Liberty. It's a community-based organization that actually stayed away from politics to remain what you are, which I think is important. Because I think the only way to fix these things is to not divide, but bring people together. And I like to explain it like this. Like, if I'm at an Eagles game, the person next to me is my best friend while we're at the Eagles game, right? But then all of a sudden, we're not at the Eagles game anymore, and now we're something else. So you run into these people by having other outlets of interests. And you see that people are way more alike than we are different by allowing us to be together and not divide us all the time.
Well, yeah. Well, and if you think about it too, like most of our fights in the regular world are political, are driven by politics. And, you know, if we can realize that that's not who we are, and that's something that we are made to be by the people, you know, in charge, I guess, maybe we can start to find a way to mend the situation and to come together in our common ground, which is what is best for our children and for the future of our children.
I think I think what you're doing with this Moms for Liberty thing is a step forward after talking to you. I think you're on the right track. I think you definitely brought a lot of people together, and it seems like you're trying to make it focused on the child and not politics, and I can sense that, and I think, I don't know. I just every time I hear Moms for Liberty, it's coming from the other side how bad. And I'm always like, well, where are they getting that from? Like, there has to be something. They can't just be saying this. Like, where is this opinion coming from? Like, why would they make this up? You know?
My thoughts on that are, they're realizing that, you know, we're a movement and we're going to be a voice for change, and we're not going away, and that scares them. And I'm not saying like the regular, you know, guy on the street in Lansdale, But like I'm saying, as far as, the political machine that we've been talking about, like our movement, our, ability to unite communities is scaring them, because that takes away from their ability to divide the community.
Well, I mean, you just stated the numbers of how big you've gotten in such
And that
short
was a month
in a
ago.
short
Yeah.
period of time.
Well, yeah, they just started in January. So Moms for Liberty only started up in January.
Right. And how many more do you have? What was that? It was around.
So this is a month ago. So I'd say we're closer, over 140
That's
chapters
that's a lot of
with
people.
60,000 parents. I would
That's
estimate.
a lot of parents. That's a lot of people. And I don't know. At the same time, it's like it's scary too, right? It's like that many people feel the need that they need to fight back against this machine, and I don't know. I just feel
Well, yeah, I think about it too, and there's a lot of people in the community that are fighting back with us, but aren't necessarily a part of Moms for Liberty. But they also, stand with us in the sense that they agree that this is a fight for the future of our country, and the future of our country is our children.
What else do you guys do? What else do you ladies do for the community? Do you do anything else outside of what you see at these?
So yeah, now that we're wrapping up, I guess, with, it's been a very busy fall, but this winter we are working to. So my husband is a Navy veteran,
Well, thank you for your
and
service.
I was not a part of that,
Well,
but
you're
I will
married
let
to
him
it.
know. But
You're still part of it.
I hold a soft spot in my heart for. So I'm working with the VA or somebody. One of my friends has a connection to the VA, and they are trying to get us a veteran family in need, to bless for Christmas. So we want to, stick to like the necessities, things that they may not be able to afford, like winter coats and snow pants and boots and stuff like that for the kids, but also to bless them with, toys or fun things too, to be able to put under the tree. And then I've also teamed up with Toys for Tots. So Moms for Liberty, Montgomery County will have 2 bins for toy collection, one at Local Tap in Lansdale, and then the other one will be at Coffee Corner in Lansdale. So we're working with Toys for Tots to collect toys for their toy drive. And then at our Christmas party, which will be at Local Tap on December 14th, we are having a toy drive. And that's where also we'll be collecting all of our gifts for the veteran family that we are supporting. So it's going to be, I want to make the toy drive something for the community, although I'm afraid to like invite the whole entire community, because I don't want it to be a negative experience. I want to invite the community so that they can meet us and know what we're about, and assist us in the gift giving to families and children who are in need.
What would you say to people that don't necessarily, or women that necessarily, don't want to be part of Moms for Liberty, but do want to do good for the community? They stand for a lot of things you stand for. How can they get involved, like without being part of it? Is there anything that they can do?
Yeah, if you want to get involved, I mean, on my personal Facebook page, I will include, I'm not open, like my whole page isn't open for public, but I can make a public post in regards to the things that we need for this veteran family to be able to bless them for Christmas.
I'll put a link on here as well. They can see it.
That would be awesome. Yeah, and I'll put it on my Twitter, which you follow me on Twitter, so you can always, share that when I do tweet it. Or if you can, it would be really awesome if you could bless our donation boxes at Local Tap or Coffee Corner with an unopened new toy for a child. And that'll go, Toys for Tots will pick that up and take that, and it'll go to good cause. So you'll be able to donate without necessarily being a member of Moms for Liberty. You don't have to join us to help us, support the community and make it better.
Is there? I got one last thing I want to kind of talk about here, and then I'll let you go because I kept you forever, and we had like a half hour before this where I couldn't even get the thing to work. Is there like another group of women that have that are in the community that may completely disagree with you? I know that there was like 2 women that really targeted you at the board meeting, and they targeted all of you, and then that was it. Like, there was nothing good that came out of either side of that. They targeted. Moms for Liberty laughed back. It just triggered their emotions even more. They left angry, and now there's no communication between the two. Is there a way that you think that, like, those 2 women that targeted you, you could be like, that you could talk to them? Like, is there a way to embrace so they can get to know you as a human and not see you as a threat? Like,
I'm willing to bet that if they met me outside of this and were not privy to the fact that I was representing Moms for Liberty, I would hope that they would see the humanity in me. You and I talked about the humanity for a while. But I'm also not incredibly naive to believe that not everyone is going to understand and not everyone is going to agree with me. Some people you can't have a conversation with, and I'm okay with that. And I wish them well. I wish them the best, but I don't foresee, just based on their words, there ever being able to be a dialogue. But I'm always here if you want to have, a friendly dialogue and not have,
attack
anger
each other.
And yeah, like,
that's very rare.
If the conversation leads to attacking, like, I'll be the first to end it, because I don't want that. I don't have the energy for it.
It gets you nowhere.
Exactly. And again, I am not a billionaire, nor am I funded by them. We have
Are you sure?
in our
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
That's not your closet that you're sitting in right now of some $1 billion mansion recording this?
No. This is my kitchen. It's very small.
All right. Well, look, I really appreciate the conversation. I'm so sorry I got off to that start. It kind of killed my thought process. I was stressing trying to get this thing on. The internet connection so this is my first episode I did in South Carolina. This is the first time I recorded. First time I got
again, I have to say it out loud because I have friends that are going to be watching this in South Carolina. So go Tigers!
Go Tigers! I took my son to a Clemson game and we had a blast. They played
so awesome.
Boston College. I mean, they stink now, but I'm a bandwagon, I guess you can consider. But I never had a college team.
Okay.
I never really had a college team anyway, so I don't know if that's really bandwagon. I didn't switch teams.
I think Mike went to Clemson, Carolina, when we lived there, in Columbia.
He went to the game. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
He
went to Clemson, Carolina. It was just insane. And all of my friends down there are divided. Half of them love Carolina, half love Clemson. So I always chose the Tigers, but that's because I lived there and they were a winning team. So, bandwagon. I'm a Badger fan till I die.
A Badger fan? Why is a Badger fan? Oh, Wisconsin. Gotcha. See, I grew up in Philadelphia. I didn't have a college team. I never got into it.
No, Penn State? Really?
Nope. Never
Mike
cared.
Grew up in Philly. He's a Penn State guy. We have a hard time here.
Nope. Never had a care for it. I have every professional sports team tattooed on my body. I have the neighborhood I grew up in on my body.
Where are you from?
I'm from Parkwood in Philadelphia.
I don't know where that is.
It's northeast Philadelphia.
Yeah, okay. Mike's northwest, so I don't know why I ask these questions. I don't know anything.
Yeah, it's okay. But when I talk about pride, I literally have everything that I was prideful of on my body.
Funny.
It's what you live and breathe.
Well, now you're in the land of college sports. Nobody cares about professional sports.
It's awesome, too. You know what I like about it the most, though? It is kid-oriented. They're kids. And you're encouraging kids. It's not like they have something to play for. I don't know. They do it for high schools, too, around here. Like they're a lot bigger with high school football, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is different. And honestly, I don't know if you ever really looked into this, but they don't teach the same thing. They don't have this. They don't do Common Core in South Carolina.
I don't think I knew that because my kids were not old enough
To see it yet. Yeah, South Carolina has their own.
We left 2 years ago, so Sophie's only 2.
I think it's called College Ready is the curriculum. Like and that takes some balls because you don't get federal funding if you don't do Common Core.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yes. So Common Core, you get federally funded if you instill that in your schools. Which South Carolina
now you're making it really tough for me to stay here. I'm telling you. I'm just telling you. We got to move back to Charleston.
I think you should come, but I think there's people up there that need you.
I need to stay here. I've been told if I go back, I'm getting dragged back by my feet.
Yeah, I think there's people up there that need you. You're a big inspiration. I love listening to you speak. I do. I like that, and that's why I like this conversation though, because now I feel like what I thought is what you are, right? Like without this conversation, no one can really tell your intentions. Like, yeah, I don't know who you are. How do I know what your intentions are? By a couple words you put on social media that you typed out. There's no context. There's nothing. It's just words that you typed out. I have no idea how you said it. I don't know if it's anger.
Twitter only giving us so many characters.
That's what I mean. It's the truth. That's why I hate it. I've never used Twitter until I decided that I wanted to troll Casa. I never used it. I don't like it.
You are king troll. I do have to applaud.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it bothers me though. It does. I'm like, why am I doing this? Sometimes I'm sitting. I look at my wife. I'm like, why am I doing this? Do I have nothing else to do but to do this? Like, why am I?
No, you're fighting for the kids again. Like, you only just moved there. What? How long ago? 2 months ago? You said. Yeah. So this was where your kids were in school. Like, you had every reason to fight that, and you shouldn't be silenced because you are somebody that knows what's going on here. And if there's anybody that's best fit to fight, it's somebody that understands. And
they never talk to me.
You have family.
I know
they'll never talk to you, but you can keep bringing attention. Shining light on a situation only makes the cockroaches scurry.
I know, but it scares me at the same time. I'm always criticizing that other side of me. I do it. I just have that. I never want to be what I was again, and it's very easy to become that if you don't pay attention to it.
Well, pray, meditate, whatever you believe in. Just
meditation's
ground
savior.
Yourself every so often.
Meditation. That's the only reason. That's the only thing that's where I'm like, why am I doing this? Because I need to stop. Like, that's my higher power telling me you shouldn't be doing this. Like, you're investing yourself into something that is not. It's Twitter, you know. I don't know. I don't like Twitter at all.
I don't like it either, but it also scares me because there's not a lot of people. Like, I'm definitely very conservative on there, meaning like I don't open up a lot because there's not a lot of like-minded voices on there that I feel comfortable saying something knowing that I'm not going to be torn apart by wolves
or robots.
That's what scares me about Twitter. I'm like, oh my God, now like I don't want to keep this conversation going and just get beaten up like all day.
That North Penn video I put out, I got multiple death threats from the trans community and Trump and people that were like diehard MAGA. Both sides.
Really?
Both sides. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the ones, and I knew personally the ones that were Trump fanatics, and they were pissed because, like I said, they need to be careful with what they're following. I'm not saying Trump is anything. I'm just watch that pride. It can get you to do things that you wouldn't do. You know, watch it. And they're like, I thought you like they thought from just reading my post that I was exactly what they were. And I'm not exactly.
Nobody is capable of saving us or saving this country
Only
but
you.
The people within it. Yeah.
You.
So
right.
So we need to unite the only way to fix what's wrong is for us to unite. We can't rely on any politician. We can't rely
Stop giving them the power.
on anybody. So I put that on both sides of the aisle, not just, one side or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can rely on any politician to fix what's happening in this country. The only people that can fix it are us. It's us. We can't rely on politics to fix our problems.
It's true. If you fix within, the things with outside of you will just happen to get better when you fix what's in here. It's the truth.
Exactly.
I am letting you go this time. I seriously, I think you're a dangerous. You're very dangerous to what's going on there. I think you should speak your truth more. I do.
Thank you.
I think you should speak it more. I hope that just having. I mean, when's the last time you talked to somebody for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just talked? When's the last time?
It's been a while.
It's not. People don't do it. It's uncomfortable.
No.
Right? But it gets you to.
Yeah.
But you start to say things that you actually never really thought or said before because you're thinking out loud at that point. As soon as you get a little bit deeper into the conversation, and that's where the creativity comes from.
Thinking is what it is.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to sit there and think of what you're going to say because you don't know what's the next thing that's going to come up.
It's so scary, though.
It's so scary, but that's why I did this, to face that judgment. And I think that you showed who you, what you're truly trying to do. You showed some really true intentions, and I think if you keep speaking up, I think you can do really good for that community. I've faith. I have hope that community is going to come back together, and I think you're going to be one of the ones in the forefront. So I keep it up. Don't worry about what other people think of you, whether it's good or bad. I think you need to worry about you. You seem like you got a very nice family. Your husband's definitely on your side. You can see that. I don't think you have anything to be afraid of. I mean, that dude, he's a monster.
Oh, geez. I tell him to sit. I'm like, can you just sit away from me?
It's so funny because he was in the back of the line. I texted Kenny. I'm like, yo, the dude in the back of the line for that podium is drawing more attention than the person speaking right now because he's just sitting back here. You see, he's ready. But that's the thing, right? Like you have support, and that is your support. It's your family, your husband, your kids, and they're not going to go anywhere. So speak your truth, and more people will start to attach themselves to you by sensing that you're telling them your truth and not lying.
Yeah.
Seriously, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you'd like to share at the end here?
Oh yeah. If you're looking for more information about Moms for Liberty, head to momsforliberty.org. You can find chapters in your state, in your county, that you can reach out to find out how you can, be a part of this movement. And I am currently working on getting our personal webpage up and running. So when that happens, I'll have information about our chapter meetings, school board meetings coming up across the county, and ways to get involved in the community itself.
Okay, you heard it. I'm gonna have everything in the description too. So if you're watching, you can just click right in the description. I'll try to keep in touch to figure out when you get that website up and running. To get the word out there.
Soon. This is fun.
Yeah, I definitely want to do this again. And that way because now I know the internet problem. All right, so I'll get that fixed, and we can have a smooth sailing a conversation, because this was a rough start. I gotta tell you, this was a rough start.
It's all right.
But
it's all right. I don't know any difference. So
that's right. It was perfect, actually. I'm lying. This is what happens to everybody. They all do that.
It's beautiful, right? Everyone
happens to everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah, deal with it.
Yeah. You should fire your producer, though. Next
All right. Yeah, I will. Myself. I need to get one. I wish I could get one. But look, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you get back with your family. So I just really appreciate you coming on, and look forward to it.
I also want to tell anyone listening in Pennsylvania, get out and vote tomorrow, November 2nd. The only way we can fix what's wrong, other than, being a voice, our biggest voice is our vote. So nothing can change without you making it to the polls and voting for what you believe to be right for your family, for this country.
pray for help.